Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining Shaco's Thought Leadership Series. Today's episode, we'll be talking about supporting the customer journey with digital experiences. I'm your host, Dan Quee, and I have the pleasure of having Carsten Krause with me today, founder and chief digital officer of the CDO Times. Carsten and I have known each other for a little while and have spoken multiple times on different subjects. He's a seasoned digital leader with extensive experience in driving digital transformation and customer-centric strategies. So today, we want to explore how organizations like yours can support their customer journeys with these digital experiences, the importance of the data, and the role of emerging and immersive technologies in creating lasting customer engagements. Welcome, Carsten. How are you?
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm doing well.
Great. Now, Carsten, you've been involved with a number of high-profile companies, including Anheuser-Busch, who's been in the news lately. We've all heard all the different things that have been going on with that. Mm-hmm. Give us a little bit more about your background, and then you created the CDO Times. What motivated you to create the platform, and what's your role in it?
Right. Yeah, so I have led digital transformation initiatives as far as I can think back, right? So originally grew up in Germany, came over to the United States and worked for SAP, did some major transformation and co-innovation projects with a lot of retail, CPG, supply chain type companies. And then, Anheuser-Busch, like you mentioned, was in charge of enterprise architecture there, got them cloud ready and all mobile first. And I know you guys had some things in there and created some really good stuff for us there. And then after that, I drove digital strategy for Keurig Dr. Pepper and really looking at, technology, the experience, how can we leverage data to provide the right data insight and the right offers in real time, right, when the customers need it. And then fast forward, I had multiple roles at a global supply chain organization called Link, where I was CIO and CISO, and again did many data-driven and user experience improvements that were rolled out, and then came back to the beer business at Boston Beer and did some very
up our neck of the woods.
There. What's that?
I said up our neck of the woods.
Yeah, exactly. And so food and beverage has been kind of a theme, and then after Boston Beer was in Breville, and we also leveraged some really new approaches to user experience, and so we can chat about that a little bit later on. And so right now, I am providing CIO interim services, and I also started this CDO Times magazine, which I'm really happy it's going pretty well. And what we're doing here is we share insights with peers. I have myself and other authors that are experienced and innovative industry veterans with a lot of frameworks in place, and we share that with our readers. And so I'm excited to do that. And we cover topics from digital transformation to data strategy to data privacy and cybersecurity. So it's all very relevant for companies right now.
Yeah, I've seen your website, the CDO Times website, and I've read through some of the articles. You certainly have a lot of information, especially on how to work with customers and mapping their journey and using a variety of different type of data. So what trends are you seeing in the industry right now in regards to mapping the customer journey?
Yeah, I think it comes back to there's certain technologies that enable us to leverage data and map out the journeys in these platforms and provide the real-time insights that you need at the time of now, right? And also customized and tailored to an individual's perspective. So you have seen a lot of the artificial intelligence and digital experience platforms that we also write about that help with that. But it comes really back to also the basics that in order to deliver great customer experiences, you need to internally map out, what do customers actually need? What is their job to be done, if you will, right? And then mapping out personas along the customer journey. And so we can chat about that
I mean,
a
that's
little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, a lot of these organizations have spent a lot of time and money creating these target customer personas. So what types of data should these organizations be looking for to better enhance their customer journey using this targeted data?
Yeah, so I think what you really want to have is a full picture of these personas. And even when you create the personas themselves, you're using demographic data, data about personal preferences, behavioral data. Are there any patterns that you can kind of recognize? And then how do folks interact in the context of things? We're all using multiple devices, right? And there's an online journey and a physical journey, right, in stores and online. And one thing that I've seen at the National Retail Federation event this year is that it's all about immersive experiences. So it shouldn't really matter where you are, but those are all data points that you want to collect and understand, so that you can build out journeys that are meaningful and increase customer satisfaction.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit more about these immersive and emerging technologies in a few minutes, but you've been with a lot of different companies here, and so what have you seen that has actually influenced your approach based on your experience for using this data? Is there anything that you have found that's worked specifically well for you in the environments that you've been in?
Yeah, I think it's very important to be customer centric and understanding what's the journey across the different devices, the different channels, right? And so I've done customer journey mapping sessions with previous employers and currently, and design thinking sessions, getting early feedback, leveraging agile methodology to continuously improve and get early feedback if what you are delivering meets customers' expectations, because in the end it's all about your company's objectives, but then also 100% being customer obsessed and delivering great experiences. So yeah, there's certainly some examples that I can think of what I have done throughout my career, and what technologies we have used.
So we talk about these technologies. Technologies generate a lot of data. All that data has to be compiled and analyzed and put into some format that people can use. So this data can be overwhelming for a lot of people these days, especially with all the tools out there. So how can organizations better manage that and use the data that's really relevant to the problem that they have, on hand currently?
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit it with your question the nail on its head, where I think there's a technology aspect to things. There's a process and people aspect to things in every shape or form. And so what I typically see makes sense is that you gotta identify what journeys you want to focus on, right? You can't cover everything and every possible scenario. What are some of the high value scenarios where you really can make a difference? So identifying those and then mapping those out, and then also understanding what are the needs of your customers, of your target group, right? And that could be customer feedback. And sometimes we all get so entangled in technology that we forget to maybe just go in a store and if it's a physical product and meet your customer, right, and talk to them and live through the experience that they're living, and ultimately you will get different kinds of data insights that you can leverage and productionize after doing a journey mapping exercise and leveraging these platforms and map out, here are some journeys and here are some pain points that we need to address, right? And there's some opportunities for improvement, and then ultimately these tools also help you to analyze, the success against certain metrics that you're trying to hit.
Yeah, the customer journey isn't really linear in the sense that, you just don't provide information at the beginning and that information continues all the way through. So how do you make sure that in the places that you've been before, that you provided the right information to the customer depending on where they were in the journey? Did you actually reach out and go back and talk to them during the journey, or engage them in a different way? Maybe not just by email, but some sort of using some sort of innovative, customer engagement.
No, absolutely. I think it's definitely it's called a journey for a reason, right? It's not a once and done thing. And I always find it interesting when folks say, "Well, we did our digital transformation and we're done." No, I mean it's a continuous process. And as a matter of fact, you need to also have kind of the corporate DNA in place to have a digital DNA and corporate culture in place where you continuously evolve and continuously learn, and you will make mistakes, but that's part of the process, right? And so based on that, I think some of the agile methodologies, like having a lean approach to things, the lean enterprise approach, where you target towards a MVP, you get early feedback and continuous loop of improvements, right? I think that's certainly something that is very helpful when you're delivering digital experiences.
Yeah, so I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you: do you have a favorite customer journey or engagement that was significant, and that it provided a lot of value for not only the company but the customer?
Yeah, I mean, I recently did something like this for Wendy's, and we're mapping out the customer experience across internally and also externally. So when customers go through the drive-through, and how is the journey for internal employees at the restaurants, for the general manager, for the staff there, and remapping out what devices are being used, how is data being tracked, how do people feel, right, during this interaction. And when you have these conversations both in store and also working with internal experts, you uncover a lot of opportunity and opportunity to address pain points, but also things that if you take a step back, look from things from a view a little bit further away, you uncover some new opportunities that you don't see when you're like right in the midst of it.
Right. And actually, it was a good segue, because I was just while you started talking about it, I was going to mention, I recently read a Gartner report, and it talked about digital experiences, and it suggested that many of these so-called improvements to the consumer journey were really operational improvements in the guise of being an improvement to the customer journey. And so I wonder if you don't have to talk about Wendy's specifically, but I wonder if you've seen that in any organizations that you've consulted with or worked for, where you see that these baseline operational efficiencies are actually called customer journey improvements when they're not.
Yeah, I think in the end, you can use customer journey mapping also for internal improvements, right? And so I think that's okay, right? It's okay to look at a customer, meaning a consumer that buys your products or services, but then also use these journey mapping exercises and to look at opportunities internally, because in the end, we're all servicing customers, and if we're with employees in an organization are happy and they enjoy doing the work and they have the right tools to do the work, it also is going to be beneficial for the customer in the end. So I think that's certainly something that you can do, but there's also, right, when you're looking at digital innovation, there's also some misunderstanding of what you can do, and I took a class at Harvard a couple of years ago. Clay Christensen, he mentions that there's different types of innovation. So you can just do like sustaining innovation where you do gradual improvements, or you can go and really address a new market need with new tools, and that's really where the digital capability comes in. And I think we're living this right now, where a lot of industries are being disrupted with artificial intelligence opportunities, and the cycles of innovation are so much faster now, right? And so I think that's also an opportunity now to digitally innovate and digitize your services, right, and make them available and leverage complementing technologies. An example for that was where we at Revel, with one of my previous employers, we had physical devices, but we also offered augmented reality capabilities, so you can kind of see how does this product, how does this grill, a toaster, or an espresso machine look in my room, right? And that's really, it's kind of like a try before you buy type capability.
Yeah, and I'm gonna talk about that in a moment. But as you mentioned, you also hinted to the fact that there's a lot of different things, different technologies, and different ways of creating digital experiences. Have you found a strategy for yourself that actually supports the unification of the customer journey by looking at the different digital experiences and trying to combine them down into something that's very specific and very forward thinking in terms of the customer journey?
Yeah. I think it's very important to bring in all the different experiences, and I think there's also more of a business approach to things too, where you're trying to understand, as a business, what's our focus, what is our company's customers' needs, that we kind of talked about that a little bit, and then also looking at what are your internal capabilities, right? You have all this data. You mentioned that it can be overwhelming, so you have to start to build up a skill set in-house, where you have digital folks that have experience with building digital strategy, the user experience design, data analytics, and also from a technology development perspective, so that this all kind of comes together.
Yeah, I mean, some of these emerging technologies, I personally believe, since I come out of the augmented reality world, that they are one way of unifying the customer journey and pulling the customers together in a way that promotes the product, that is exciting, right, and engaging, and keeps them engaged. So you started to talk a little bit about augmented reality on a project. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that project was and how you used augmented reality?
Yeah, I've used augmented reality in different ways. It's not the supply chain company Modus Link that I worked for. We were looking at leveraging and started leverage picking with augmented reality, and there's a lot of improvements that are happening so that everything becomes a little bit more efficient. At breweries, we were looking at to have predictive analytics to predict what brewing equipment might fail, and then overlaying augmented reality to seeing how do you replace a certain part of the puzzle of the equipment. And companies like Breville and other companies I work for, we were looking at how can we overlay information maybe to help the customers use these devices, almost like computer vision, where you overlay information and you understand how to improve the learning process when you have a new device and to understand it better.
Yeah, not augmented, but AI has been a hot topic in the market lately. I mean, we're hearing about it everywhere, especially ChatGPT and all these other things. So you just mentioned a minute ago about predictive analytics and being able to use it. Where do you see AI going here as you talk to some of your customers and you consult with them going down the road? Are you seeing more and more questions coming about AI? Too many buzzwords here. AI and maybe how to better personalize the data using AI or the predictive analytics. What role is it going to play in those areas?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a crystal ball type thing. I think it comes back to you have to have your foundation, you're not so maybe exciting technology underneath, where you have accurate data, you have automation capabilities behind the scenes, and then really AI provides now this really new opportunities where we've seen with the large language models that are being used by OpenAI for ChatGPT and other solutions that are coming in. There's a lot of opportunities to combine the text natural language model with maybe voice going forward down the road. Having smart assistants that can help you, and many companies are exploring right now. I kind of want to have my own ChatGPT, but I don't like that my data is exposed to the whole world. We had some examples of folks that put their important board presentation into ChatGPT, and oops, it's now available to the whole world, or at least
Sure.
the developers can see it, right? But so that I think those are some things that need to be figured out. But I think there's whole new business models that are popping up.
Yeah, I mean, we see a substantial increase in questions related to AI and how to build it into systems that we've already built for other people. So I can imagine that you're going to be seeing that a lot more and seeing where it plays here in the near future. So I'm going to wait for an article from you and on the subject and read it off your website. So before AI, there was a large discussion over the last couple of years of Web3 and the metaverse, and now all of a sudden it seems like AI is the hot topic. But what type of advice do you offer for organizations that are looking at Web3 and the metaverse?
Yeah, the Web3 and the metaverse, is really a collection of different technologies, and I think the reason why ChatGPT and AI type solutions have been so successful is that you start to understand, like, okay, this makes sense, right? So when I think Web3, there are certain things that totally make sense, right? That right now companies can do right now, and there's success stories about it. For example, when you look at NFTs and having communities maybe on Discord, right? The community building and the crowdsourcing for building loyal customers is very relevant, and there's technology that enables it, but you're basically one of the things that Web3 enables is that you can onboard your customers to provide input into your product roadmaps, right? And they're becoming very loyal, super loyal customers because they feel more connected to your organization, right? And so there's a psychological aspect to that. Of course, underneath the surface, you still have, cryptocurrency, you have maybe blockchain, you have the user experience of being fully immersed, and who knows, maybe there will be better devices where you don't look like a cyborg when you walk around with it. But I think there are some really good opportunities there. The reason why ChatGPT and AI is everybody's talking about it right now is that wait a second, this is helping me right now, right? This solves a problem that I have right now. And so I guess the long-winded answer is that there are some things from a Web3 perspective, like data privacy, being able to control your data better. There's some business models that talk about interoperability, where you control who you share your data with, and you get services for that. So those are some, I think, really interesting concepts. Maybe another one is that you can be like a fractional owner of real estate, right? And being able to be a micro investor by tokenizing real world assets.
Yeah, I've seen a number of examples where the brand is actually providing value to the customer and engaging them with, different types of reward systems, everything that are based on Web3 concepts of decentralization and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I just wondered, have you had any, hands-on experience recently on any of these, or companies still just asking you about them and trying to get a feel as to where to go?
I think it's for Web3, things are still, it has been in a way Web3 with other experiences where you can immerse yourself in, have been around, but I think it's getting better and better. I think there's a lot of companies that are registering on the buying some land in the whichever sandbox or other metaverses. And there's virtual events that are happening. Certainly I've seen that's successful, right? So I think entertainment, and these type of events, there's certainly a lot of work happening in that space right now. And then what I mentioned earlier is when you alleviate to loyalty programs, Web3 for CRM, customer relationship management, and loyalty management. I think those are some things that people are really looking into, and I think NFTs are part of that. And there's also a little bit of gamification that by the way, our kids are already involved in that 100% with the Roblox, right? And I talked to recently. I talked to the SVP and CTO of Build-A-Bear, Darren Meath, and that was an example there where they're heavily investing in Roblox and NFTs to build those connections.
So there's clearly a lot out there. There's a lot of choices. There's a lot of things for people to consider on all of these fronts. So what advice do you have for other digital executives looking to drive digital transformation in their organizations?
Right. I think it's really about non-technology topics as well as technology topics, right? So there's you got to understand what you want to do as a business, what are your goals, what are your customers' goals, and then also one thing that is not only important as important for any project really is to understand what are the KPIs and metrics that you want to influence, and then being able to measure them when you're doing the digital innovation projects and your transformation initiatives. And I guess from a perspective of what can you do to be successful, right, is that you get leadership buy-in from senior leadership, understand, and that everybody understands what you're trying to achieve. You need to have your data analytics ducks in a row, right? Where you want to have some baseline capability, that you have good and accurate data, and focusing on customers enables you that you're really honing in on the experience, and that would mean that you might need to build up some internal skills that you don't have. You might need to bring on partners that can help you, or you need to have a training plan in place for your internal team of getting them up to speed on user experience, design thinking, journey mapping, and also testing and the design aspect of things, and the development aspect of things. So I think those are some key things. And then last but not least, like I mentioned earlier, things are changing very fast right now, where we're seeing it right now with all these technologies that are driving change. So you need to be agile and flexible. And there's a term of having a composable business, where again, there might be some key investments that you need to make, that your infrastructure and your capabilities are almost like Lego blocks internally, where you can flexibly rearrange them, you can reuse things, and then if something comes along, you build some new capability, but that becomes part of your playbook.
Yeah, I heard you say something, and I'm going to just reiterate it because it's near and dear to my heart. I heard you say that it's not about the technology, it's about the use case and the engagement. And having been one of those people who created many different instances of augmented reality over the years, since 2006, I know firsthand that if you can get over the technology side of it and communicate that engagement to the customer, you're going to win big time. So maybe that's an obstacle that people need to overcome. Are there any other obstacle issues that you can point to that help people get over some issues?
Yeah, I think it's really looking at your digital DNA of your organization, right? It needs when you do these digital initiatives, you can't just put the technology on top of everything, and then expecting that it will work. There needs to be a shift in mindset to understand that it's okay to try and keep on trying. So there was a little bit older approach where you said like fail fast, win fast. I think that really doesn't work anymore. It's really about like iterate, right? You will not get it right 100%. You do your minimal viable product, and then you keep on iterating to get it better, get better, and get better at it. I think Jeff Bezos called it the culture of like 1,000 projects and one will work. Or but in the end, it's all about being agile and flexible to and for a corporation to understand that you need to accept that you need to accept some risk, and it's not a once and done thing either. So having implemented things, sometimes I was on the service side where I help companies digitally transform, and then I moved on to another project. But it's really important that the team that's there understands why we were doing this, and what's the plan to really manage things not as a project but more as a product, right? So what's your feature product roadmap going forward?
Yeah, so any predictions you want to make for the future on all these things?
Yeah. Well, I guess with some of the things that we already talked about, I think that we will have everything super personalized to individualized needs. So I think there's some analysts are talking about hyper personalization, right? And I think that's further propelled now by data insights, by customer 360 insights data platforms that help you tailor your messaging and your services to customers' needs. And I think that is on the positive side for the customer. You will really have companies that understand you, and then there will be additional sensors involved. Right now we're doing a lot of written type things. We have our Alexas and Google Homes and other things in our houses. But I think what I'm looking forward to is to having a chat GPT discussion with Amazon Alexa, and it's actually not something that was pre-learned, but the AI is actually reacting to what I'm saying and suggesting something. So I think that's really cool. And then I think the whole augmented and virtual reality that you mentioned, I think that's really relevant for retail, travel, and entertainment right now. But I think there's so many use cases out there, so it's pretty exciting. After the whole topic was about immersive experiences, so I think that will be more of the Amazon Go frictionless, the company that you're interacting with knows you, and it makes it very easy for you to use their service, consume their services. And last but not least, as a CISO, certified CISO, I'm considering definitely that we need to have the right framework in place, some rules and regulations. It should maybe not be just driven by private organizations, but some involvement from some authorities to making sure that we use, for example, artificial intelligence and automation and robotics for good, right? And so I think that's something that will come, and who knows, at some stage we might have artificial general intelligence. There's some folks that say will never happen, and some say it's 15 years away or whatever. But a lot of exciting things to happen in I think the next couple of years.
Well, if Alexa ever gets really AI, integrated, I'm going to put her in a room by herself. So anyways, Carsten, thank you. I want to take a moment and maybe open it up for any questions. If anybody has any questions out there, go ahead and you can either unmute or type them in the chat for a moment. And if not, we will certainly have the recording available to everybody, and certainly send it out as needed here. And I don't see anything in the chat. So anyways, then I'll just move on. So Carsten, I really want to thank you for taking the time and sharing your insights with us today, and talking about some of your journeys that you had with digital experiences. And I hope the audience found it worthwhile to attend this and listen in. And I want to invite everybody to check out CDO Times at cdotimes.com. And it's a digital magazine written by digital executives for digital executives. So check it out. And also be sure to sign up for our podcast at shocko.com. We're going to be interviewing some other executives from the industry over the next few months. And certainly there'll be something there for everybody. So on behalf of everybody at Shocko, I want to thank you for attending our Thought Leadership Series, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much, Carsten.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.